Good evening, everybody, and hope everyone are doing well tonight. This is your boy Alvin, and welcome to another episode of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. Well, tonight is one of those nights that I have been waiting for a long time, a long time. And by that, I've often wondered, who would we bring on as our musical guest for our first show around music? And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that it would have been someone who I really, really admire and look up to. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Gordon Chambers is here tonight, and he's going to, talk to us. We're going to interview him, and he's even going to serenade us a bit tonight. How's everyone doing? Happy Friday. It is August the 6th, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe that? Yes. It is, summer is flying by, but there's still some more summer to do. So I hope everyone is taking care of themselves, in the midst of everything that we have going on, and that you're going to enjoy the rest of your summer. But waiting for some folks to get in. Hey, Monica, how you doing? Hey, look, I want you all to please post your questions tonight for Gordon, because we have some questions that we're going to talk to him about that definitely will have you asking him some questions, and he's here for it all, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get to all that, I'm going to bring on my co-host for this week, ladies and gentlemen, from last week, next week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring on Mr. Vash Bodhi and Mr. Saladin Dare. You guys come on in tonight. How you guys doing?
Hey, Alvin.
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Happy Friday. You guys got like
Friday.
Serious smiles on your face. I'm loving it.
I'm excited for tonight.
Oh, I seriously have a Gordon Chambers story. I really do. I really do. And I don't know if I will share it with him or no. I got a Gordon Chambers story. I'll just wait. But you guys are doing well. You guys are doing
Great.
well. Good. Well,
absolutely. It's been a crazy week, but things are good.
Have a glass of water on me, okay?
Yes, indeed. That is where we are in
it
life
is water.
right now.
That is where we are, down to water. And in the midst of this being our first music show, something actually sort of long awaited for is happening this next week on the 13th. Miss Jennifer Hudson is playing Aretha Franklin, and it's finally here. So I want everybody to take a look at her. She's going to be playing, like I said, Aretha Franklin, and Cynthia Erivo, as you know, has played Aretha Franklin already. So after the 13th of next week, it's going to be that, well, who did it better kind of thing, going on. So I don't know. Did you?
Not for me.
Not for you? Not for you?
No,
How about you?
No?
Who's your vote?
I didn't even see the Cynthia Erivo version because, she made those derogatory comments about Black Americans, and yet she played an iconic character, Harriet Tubman, and here she is again playing Aretha Franklin. And frankly, to be honest, I'm really just tired of, especially Black British actors playing these iconic African-American roles, and yet, they continue to make, I can't say they, but some of them have made derogatory comments about African-Americans. So I really don't support films where, some Black British actors are playing iconic African-Americans.
Wow. I have not heard anything that Cynthia Erivo has said or any derogatory comments that she's made about Americans. I have not heard any, and not to say that she has not, obviously, if you've heard that, but for all the controversy around her, playing an American and she's British, at the end of the day, in my opinion, they're actors, and that's what actors do. Actors play other characters, but in this role of her playing Aretha Franklin versus Jennifer Hudson playing Aretha Franklin, I would not compare them. I'm both of them are phenomenal in my eye in terms of, their capabilities of singing and acting, but I'm not going to compare them. But I will say, and that I'm waiting for on the 13th to see if Hollywood portrays Miss Franklin in a different way that it was portrayed by what was it? Lifetime? It wasn't Lifetime. It was either Lifetime or Discovery or whatever channel that that aired Cynthia Erivo's version of Respect. I'm sorry, of portraying Aretha Franklin. I don't know if they're going to show the same sides, and so I'm looking forward to that because there was a lot of, I don't know, very personal stuff that was shown in Cynthia Erivo's version that I didn't know about. Mm-hmm. And I want to know if they're going to do that in the version that Jennifer Hudson's going to play. So I'm excited about both of them, you know, playing. Oh, we have a lot of people who are on here tonight. Okay. I think Gordon Chambers has something to do with that. You know, hey, who's that? Robert and David. Hey, how y'all doing tonight? Look, is anything else going on in you guys' world that you all want to talk about? We there's a lot going on, and I'm trying not to talk about the negative stuff, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and some simple stuff like just wear a damn mask. Okay, wear a mask.
Yes, that is definitely a given. Well, there is a bit of information that I would like to share just in case anybody is stuck in an airport somewhere trying to get home on a Spirit airline flight, because that has been all over the news. I want you to know that if you run up to the counter and say you want an involuntary refund, they have to give you your money back so you can go to another airline and get home. So I hope we've helped somebody somewhere get home, because that's been something I've been watching over the last few days.
Is that because Spirit Airline is not connected to other airlines?
Right? You know, airlines don't necessarily have to accept another airline's ticket.
Okay.
But everybody seems to accept cash.
Well, speaking of flying, I'm just scared of flying because I'm not trying to be on no flight with people fighting.
I was thinking about that. Was that Frontier Airlines the other day where the flight attendants had to like tape a guy to a seat? Was that Frontier Airlines? Oh my
I'm not sure what airline, but I saw that I heard that somebody was taped to a seat with duct tape. The flight attendants did it.
And did you see there's an interview that a news program did with a guy who apparently was the flight attendant on that flight. And he gave one of those interviews that was a little like, hide your kids, hide your wife. It was just hysterical. And I was like, this man is not the flight attendant that was on that flight. And this news company put it out. If I can find it, I'm going to share it with you guys because your mouths will drop at the things that he says.
In Boston, the flight attendant that duct taped the passenger to a seat, was he reprimanded by the airline? Wasn't he put on suspension or something? Is that right?
Ooh, that I don't know, because they are trained to do stuff like that. Right? Flight attendants, everyone thinks they're supposed to get peanuts, but they are trained to restrain passengers, to help them in emergencies and stuff like that. So I think that was protocol.
So they have duct tape in a bag saying, use this if a passenger becomes unruly.
It's behind a glass thing that they have to break. It says break in case of unruly passenger. They go and tap it, pull out the duct tape and start wrapping it around.
Come on. Are you serious?
Seriously.
Okay.
Well, God bless them for that training. I support that.
Seriously.
Well, because of that, I'm really just not in the mood to flying. But tonight, we have Mr. Gordon Chambers with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And you guys, we have been working really hard. Gordon has a very busy schedule, and I am so honored to have him on our show tonight. And so if we can, ladies and gentlemen, we want to get on with the interview and speak to Gordon because, again, I've been waiting since 2005. Believe me. Gordon Chambers, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, Gordon, I'm gonna do this because I do this to all the guests who come on, and I've been waiting to do this for you. I'm going to give you my introduction while you're there watching me, because usually I say it and then our producers will pop you on. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you my introduction so that everybody will know who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, recording artist and Grammy Award-winning and nominated songwriter, producer, Gordon Chambers has written for over 75 recording artists. Some of the names include Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, Beyoncé, Brandy, and Trey Songz. His number one hits as a lyricist, though, include Anita Baker's Grammy winner, I Apologize, and Brownstone's Grammy-nominated If You Love Me, which I love to hear when I'm driving. So Gordon, I love that, okay? With 4 albums to his credit, introducing Gordon Chambers, Love Stories, Sincere, and Surrender, he is the winner of 10 American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers Songwriting Awards, and a recipient of 4 Dove nominations. We're going to say this later on, but you can go to gordonchambers.com and learn everything else about him and see what he's doing and what just everything that you want to know about Gordon Chambers. But tonight we have him here on our show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Gordon Chambers. I have to get all that out.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Great. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm also going to go on record to say that because of social media, you know people who know people who know people. Gordon, I'm going to say when I mention your name, for people who know you, they always say the same thing. They say he is a nice guy.
Amen.
I mean, that is the overarching, 3 words, 4 words or so that I get about you. He is a nice guy. So it is an honor to have you here, my friend. And you changed my life in 2005 when someone took me on a date and I ended up going to your show. Okay, and so and we will talk about that later. But if you all don't mind, I'm ready to jump into the interview with Gordon. You guys ready?
Let's do it. Let's get it.
Okay,
totally okay. This is exciting. This has been a long time coming. Welcome, Gordon.
Thank you.
So, Gordon, you were born and raised in the Bronx to Jamaican parents. Your father raised in Montego Bay, and your mom in Port Antonio, Kingston. And that was before you moved to Teaneck, New Jersey in 1977. How much did your parents influence you musically in your early childhood?
Completely, in every way. I mean, my parents to this day are music lovers. My mother can sing you every song on the radio, like from Mavis Staples, I'll Take You There, to Rihanna's Work, Work, Work. Like she knows, having grandchildren, she knows the music. But growing up, my parents were, collected records. They bought records. They had like little informal parties. My father used to DJ club. So Daddy had all the records. And my father had jazz records and soul records and reggae records, obviously, from our heritage. So I heard music constantly as a child, and it inspired me to want to do music. Like, I was not the kid who was into sports. I was into my academics, but music was a solace for me. It was something that was a hobby, and very early on, I found myself comforted by vinyl and reading album credits, and took piano lessons, trumpet lessons. My parents supported all the music training I had, and every concert, every recital, they were there, as well as the aunts and uncles and my brother. And they just gave me a foundation. They were my first supporters, my first audience, and the love of music comes from those households I was raised and reared in.
Well, and you mentioned your mother, and when I came to your show in 2005, you introduced your mom. She was there, and and I think I think you might have, when you sung the song "My Valentine," I think it was, man, I was crying because I think you dedicated. You mentioned your mom in the midst of that performance, and I was just so touched, you do have family support. I can attest to that.
Thanks. Thank you.
So while you were in Teaneck, though, you wrote your first song at age 7 while receiving guidance and tutelage from some of the most world-renowned musicians, in the world. And that was Dick Griffin. Right here, he was a trombonist. And then there was Rufus Reed, who was a bassist.
Rufus Reed, famous jazz bass player, yeah.
Yeah, and Lenny White, drummer Lenny White. You were all under their tutelage. What do you recall learning from these legends specifically at that young age?
Well, Teaneck was a big part of my story. I mean, Teaneck, New Jersey is if you ever look at the Isley Brothers. Sorry, y'all, I'm a little hot, so I'm gonna just wipe my little face down real quick.
Look,
wipe it off, boo.
Look, come on now. You're in family. You're good. You're good.
But the Teaneck, New Jersey. If you ever look at the Isley Brothers records, they always say Teaneck Records on the back. Yeah. So growing up, there were neighbors that were entertainers. Brooke Shields, I remember delivering the papers to her when I was like 12 years old. She lived around the corner. Kool and the Gang were neighbors. Millie Jackson was a neighbor. Teaneck was a town that was like 30 minutes from the city. Mm-hmm. And because these people lived in Teaneck, they went there for the good public school systems. They were involved in PTA meetings, and the word got out that I was kind of a kid songwriting, quote unquote, prodigy, whatever you want to call it, or musician. And so people came forward. There were like after school programs that like Mr. Griffin taught at one of the after school programs called the Magnet School. I don't know if y'all remember that. Reagan pulled the funding for it, but I remember being in those classes before it was pulled. But the word got out, it being a small town, that I was interested in music and writing songs, and people like, oh, you should call this person. And those three gentlemen were just kind and let me come to their homes and hang out with them, and to their home studios, play them my songs, show them what I was doing. Didn't charge a penny, just for the love of music and wanting to nurture somebody that they saw some promise in. Yeah.
Wow. So, and also while you were in Teaneck, you learned how to play the piano and the trumpet. So I'm more than sure that they had some inspiration on, on you regarding that. And you joined a 16-piece band called the Progressions.
New Progressions.
New Progressions. I'm sorry.
Oh, New Progressions.
Yeah. New Progressions. Were you a vocalist as well at that time when you were a musician in the band?
I didn't start singing really until college. I was shy. I wasn't a singer. I was a pianist and a composer, arranger, trumpeter. I was not a singer. I started writing songs, and I had friends in the town who were these amazing singers. And when I would write a song, they would learn it or do the little demos for me. And one day, this singer that I had, a friend of mine who was supposed to come and sing a song for me, didn't show up. And I was like, well, I booked the studio time and the song is here and written, and the singer friend of mine didn't show up. I'm like, I guess I'll sing. I remember like Tina talked about how she was there at that session where a singer didn't show up that was supposed to sing the song. It was kind of like I ended up singing on my own song. And my father used to always tell me that he heard the way some of my friends who were singers were singing my songs, and he thought that they were changing the melodies too much and kind of using them to show off their voices as opposed to honoring the song. Mm-hmm. So he was actually somebody who was encouraging. It didn't feel like it at the time. He's, it's like, you need to sing your own songs because them friends of yours, they just effing it up. That's how he said it.
That's how it came across, right?
So it was kind of like, why are you talking about my friends, Daddy? But it was the encouragement of encouraging me as a songwriter and encouraging me that I had a gift for melody, and then I needed to honor that gift by, sorry, my little cross is twisted. Sorry. Trying to keep my godly look going. So anyway, so it was, he gave me that encouragement to honor the melody in my music. And that's how I became sort of an accidental singer. I grew up around such amazing singers. I mean, Regina Bell, clearly, was in the neighborhood, or one town over from me. The guys that were in this group called Today, Big Love and them, they were signed to Teddy Riley. They were childhood friends. There were just all these singers, and they were gospel singers. I grew up like in going to Episcopalian church, so I didn't grow up singing, belting out big gospel sounds. So I was intimidated by my friends who were singers, but they were attracted to my songs. They encouraged me as a songwriter. So finally, when I went to college, actually, was when I was able to kind of get away from all of them and experiment as a singer. And I sang all kinds of music in college. Like I sang in the jazz bands, I sang in rock bands, I sang, and like started a singing group on campus called Shades of Brown, which was like an R&B kind of group. I sang, I did some theater where I would, have to sing sort of experimental, I freed up. I went to Brown University after Teaneck High School. Mm-hmm. And Brown was a very creative campus where people were just doing whatever they wanted to do. And I just dived into all these different modes of expression and really found my voice as a singer. You know, yeah, that's where I got the confidence.
No, Gordon, I don't know, we didn't tell you this before, but we have people who have signed on and they are asking questions. I don't know if you can see that, but one of the persons, Monica Pleasant, she just asked, did Gordon Chambers work with Michael Jackson on the Brownstone hit? Yes.
I mean, I worked with Michael indirectly because Michael owned the label MJJ Records that Brownstone was signed to. So I indirectly worked with Michael, wrote the song with Dave Hall and Nikki Gilbert, the lead singer, founder of Brownstone, wrote If You Love Me. But Michael did call me when the record was rising on the charts. He actually called the studio one day and was like, Gordon, I can't talk. I just wanted to say, great song. I can't stay. I'm on my plane. Thank you. Bye. Off into the air. So that was the one time that I did hear directly from the King of Pop, and I was grateful to, hear from him and that he took the time to call to sort of endorse and congratulate. Yeah,
that's amazing. You've never told me that story, Gordon.
You never asked.
So, Gordon, doing an interview with the with the record, it mentioned you stating, and I quote, "Teaneck is the place where I had all of my musical training." And then it goes on to say that you said, "Growing up knowing that I lived in Teaneck gave me something to dream and aspire to, that one day I could grow up and become a professional." Looking at all of what you have accomplished in your journey right now, what are some of the major lessons you've learned from after making that statement?
Well, Teaneck, like I said, there was a lot of professional musicians living in Teaneck, but there was also, more importantly than that, there were Black professionals living in Teaneck, New Jersey, doctors and lawyers and, maintenance men or just whatever. There were Black families working, police working their jobs and couples raising their kids and their families, and it made a huge impact on me because this is the thing that I love very much about my childhood, and I try to pass on to youth that I speak to and mentor, is that I didn't grow up hero or idol worshiping entertainers. Entertainers were around me, excuse me. Entertainers and people in the entertainment industry were around me, but I didn't idol worship them. I saw them putting out the garbage, and I saw them at the PTA meetings, and I saw them as regular people who had a job, but also had families and other aspirations to just be, citizens. And I admired very much my parents and my aunts and my uncles who raised me and reared me, and my grandparents. I learned my values, from the people I was raised by. And I say that proudly because the entertainment industry is one that if you idolize it and you hero worship it, you can damage yourself and your self-worth trying to be a part of it. That never happened to me. I always had foundation. Every room that I came in to, even some of the most highest, moments of my life, I shared them with my family because I talked about my family. Whitney was like, "Let me call your mama because you always talk about your parents. I want to talk to them, and you get out the room so I can have a real conversation." She literally called them on the phone, literally. So I carried them with me, and that dignity and that pride and those values into the rooms where I went to work. And I think it served me because people treated me. Listen, in any industry, you have to pay your dues, when you're getting started. But overall, people treated me well, but I think that I respected myself. I knew how to walk away from situations. I was like, okay, this is time for work, and whatever's happening next to this evening, I'm out of here, and so Teaneck made a great impression on me just in terms of community and really being in the music industry as community service. We're here to serve. You know, all
Come
of
on.
us are born with talents, gifts, you know, and callings and missions. And a satisfied and a gratified life is in one in which you have been of service. You know, if you've lived on life, if you've only lived on life for your own pleasure or your own, you know, self-adulation, that's a miserable and toxic life. But when you've served, you know, and you use your talent, whatever your talent is, to serve, you would have blessed somebody, and you would have, when your time comes, you would transition in peace because you know that you used your talent and your gift, whatever it is, to serve your community. And Tina is a community and taught me those values. So thank you for asking about my hometown. Thank you for asking me about my roots. Because a lot of times when I do interviews, people want to just get the highlights. What was it like working with this one? I'm very happy to talk about my roots and who I am and where it came from and what I brought to those moments of my career, what I brought to those rooms, so to speak.
Right. Well, thank you. And you know, this I wanted to pick this segment, and thank you for that. I received that because I wanted to know about Little Gordon. Okay, I'm the guy who's I think that everyone should be in touch with their inner child, where they came from, why they're doing what they're doing. So I am so happy that that I got this opportunity to ask you those questions. And you just said a word just now. I hope somebody received what you just said, and we got it on tape, so we're gonna play it again. But this is my last question for you. You mentioned that that you did go to Brown University, and I know that you were pursuing political science toward becoming a lawyer. And so, and Monica, you broke into my question because in 1994, it was at that when he returned that he wrote, when he returned to TNEC after college, he wrote "If You Love Me" for Brownstone, which is again one of my favorite singles for driving, and it hit Billboard's Hot 100. So my question to you is, did you aspire to pursue music and it was a redirect from your plans to become a lawyer, or did that overtake that?
I was in denial. Really, I was a very good academic student. I skipped a grade. I went to Brown University at 16. I was the youngest freshman on the campus. So I was very bright. And I thought, and I was raised in a Jamaican household where you had to get a a real job, you know.
Come on.
You couldn't waste your, brain pursuing, a hobby. So, but after a couple of years of being pre-law, I had to tell my father, I said, Daddy, I just don't think I want to do this anymore. And my father was mortified. But, my father, I had also had a conversation with my father when I turned down a full scholarship to Princeton, and said I wanted to go to Brown. I said it felt more creative, and I didn't get a full scholarship there, but it felt more me. So Daddy kind of like had to gag again. But I ended up getting a degree in American Studies, where I took a lot of political science courses and and English journalism courses and Afro-American Studies courses, and combined in the major and wrote a thesis. And then I ended up getting a job at Essence magazine, which was a nice segue from what I had studied. And it was while I was at Essence, I got promoted to entertainment editor 2 years ago. Working at Essence was a great place to network, for songwriting as well. And it was while I was there that I actually wrote the song "If You Love Me" for Brownstone. So Essence is another part of my life. And once again, similarly to TNEC, working at Essence made a huge impact on me, just being around amazing Black professionals, amazing people, not just obviously Susan Taylor, who's the most well-known, but all the editors, all the advertising, all the entire staff, just these Black, amazing professional people. It was a true gift to my soul.
It's interesting that you mentioned Essence magazine, Gordon, and that you were entertainment editor there. Can you describe your journey from entertainment editor at Essence magazine to Grammy Award-winning songwriter?
Well, it was quite a journey. I mean, I was there at Essence during the day, and I was moonlighting, really. I had a job and a dream, or being Jamaican, 2 jobs, if you want to look at it like that. But I would go to studios at night. I mean, I knew that I wanted to be in music. So even though I worked at Essence and did my work and enjoyed my work and loved working and doing my work, music was always my passion. I wrote a lot about music. I even wrote freelance music articles for other magazines. I wrote for Rolling Stone. I wrote for Billboard. I wrote for The Source. I wrote for other magazines. But I was also, going to network around songwriting and going to, anything to do with songwriting networking events, things that ASCAP and BMI were having. And I met other producers and a lot of up and coming producers. And then finally I met some producers who were really in the thing, that really working producers, Dave Hall and Barry Eastman, who I met when I was about 22, 23. And I used to go and write songs at night, in the studios and on the weekends and do demos. And, we pitched songs to this one and that one. And finally, the dots connected. It was a long time, but when the dots connected, they connected,
Right.
And finally, it was while I was at Essence that, that both Anita Baker's I Apologize and Brownstone ended up being If You Love Me on the radio in the same year. And, one was nominated for Grammy and the other song won. And that was while I was at Essence.
That's amazing.
And so I left at Essence at 1997 when I left.
You were hot. I mean, just hot. Your hands were just like fire. Okay. I mean, if all that happened around the same time, oh my God, I can't.
I was busy. That's what I was. I was really very busy. And very busy. I mean, and not always busy in a good way. I mean, I had a car accident and totaled the car, falling asleep on the road. I was busy because my job as entertainment editor was to go to parties and go to functions to network on behalf of the magazine and help plan the first Essence Music Festival. So I was burning the candle on both ends. I mean, I'm lucky I'm alive to really tell the real truth. I was so busy and burning the candles at both ends. I mean, I don't know. It's only God that drove me home sometimes, because I know, I don't know how I am still alive, because I used to fall asleep on the road all the time. So, driving, and I actually totaled the car. So when I finally left Essence in 1997, it was fearful because I didn't have a job. At that time, I started making money in music. I was actually making more money from music at that time than I was Essence. But still, Essence was also like a family and a place of comfort and community. And it was kind of like I was just kind of on my own, But I ended up signing a publishing deal with L.A. Reid. And I had a publishing deal with Prince's publishing company called
Paisley Park.
While I was at Essence. But shortly after leaving Essence, I bumped into L.A. Reid, and he ended up signing me to Hit Code Music Publishing. And I was the first writer he signed, and he ended up sort of making a family of the other songwriters. So I started to spend a lot of the time at Atlanta. So L.A. Reid sort of came into my life right at a really great time to sort of build community in the Atlanta community with him and some of the other writers and producers there shortly after Essence. And I started to take these courses at the Landmark Forum in 1997. I started participating a lot that's a worldwide known transformational sort of university, and that teaches courses all over the world. And that was edifying for me to sort of dive into, and just, it was a time of another transition and transformation. Yeah.
Right. And that allows me to transition into my next question, Gordon. I Apologize, the sultry, nubile, and emotive classic performed by the legendary Auntie Anita Baker was released in 1994, but you didn't release your freshman solo album, Introducing Gordon Chambers, until 2005. When did you have the epiphanic moment to switch gears and create a solo album? And did you battle with any self-resistance, or did you pursue your solo career with definitive assurance and confidence?
Wait a minute, y'all are like really like The View. Like y'all are rotating from seamlessly from question to question. It's like,
I wish I had some View money.
Okay. That's right. Whoever's watching this, okay.
But it's kind of like, it's kind of like in the concert where like like when they pass the mic and everybody has a solo, everybody can sing. Y'all are passing this mic seamlessly. I love it. Great question.
And I'm going to do backup for you later too, Gordon. Go ahead.
Caught up. Anyway, so thank you for that question. The solo artist journey, that was a journey. While I was like really in the mix as a songwriter, I had a couple of record deal offers. One from Andre Harrell, rest in peace, bless his soul. It's been about a year now.
Yeah.
That was a hard day when we lost him in the pandemic. Yeah. That was a Everybody on the phone, people were just in shock. We were all going down memory lane because he was such a good human being and such a great support to us all. So I had a record deal offer from Motown, and I had another offer from Universal. But the politics and the deals didn't work out. So I had kind of given up on my dream of being a singer as a professional, recording artist. And then I was doing well as a songwriter. And so I was like, kind of like, well, maybe I'm really not meant to be a singer. Maybe I'm supposed to just be writing songs. But, I was in the studio with Whitney, producing a track for her. And I was trying to get her to sing this note higher and hold the notes. I had to sing it for her. And we were on a time crunch because the A&R person, Joey Arbage, is like, if you don't get the song done, I'm not putting on the album. He was time was clicking and I had to I said, Whitney, I need you to bring it home. I hit this note and she got out of the booth and she walked over to me. She said, I think you want to do what I do, baby. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. She said just like that in one sentence. And she prophetically was speaking to.
You know what?
Wow.
Because I just pictured that. Go ahead, Gordon. I'm sorry.
So, she said it like that in one run-on sentence. But it was very clear. A lot of eyes. A lot of kind of this. But she's prophetically spoke to my spirit, and in that moment, it was like, wow, I have waited all my life, especially being from Jersey, to work with the queen of pop, soul, gospel, everything, Whitney Houston. And she says, somebody's asking, she said, she said, I think you want to do what I do, baby. If that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. That's exactly what she said. And so when I got home, I did finish the record on time, and I turned it into the A&R person, Joey Reed, who was working for L.A. Reid. Joey Arbage, who was an A&R person for L.A. Reid, who was at that time had become president of Aretha, where Whitney was signed to at the time. So I did get my job done, and I turned in the record, and I went home, and I was like, wow, that was a word. Miss Houston, Mother Houston has given me a word. And that's when I was like, maybe this bug of singing has not left me. And if the greatest singer of the 20th century tells me that I can do it, then I'm going to figure out a way to do it.
Come on.
And that's when I talked to my songwriting friends, my partners. Troy Taylor, who I've mentioned in his interviews, especially was really the main producer who was most involved in my solo album. But Barry Eastman, Prince Charles Alexander. These are friends of mine that I used to make records with. And I'm like, I came to them with all my humility. The hardest thing was to ask for the help.
Right.
But I said, listen, guys, I think I want to make a solo record. I don't have a budget. I'm, just going to do this on my own and release it independently and see what happens. Because at that time, the independent market thing was just starting to bubble up. I said, I'll give this a try. I just had some spiritual upliftment and see how it. And everybody I asked to help me said yes. And then I released Introducing and started to tour with it and do dates and the rest, it turned another chapter and the rest was history. And yes, Tears from Effie. By the way, everyone tune in on Wednesday. I've been interviewed for a documentary that ABC News is doing. It's a new series called Superstar.
Okay.
So myself, I know in the trailer that's been heavily in rotation on ABC and commercials. In the trailer, you see me, Brandy, BB Winans, Shaka Khan, and Brandy all giving reflections. But it's going to be a new documentary comes on this coming Wednesday, August 11th. I think at 9 p.m. It's called Superstar.
Yeah, we'll get that information from you, Gordon. We'd be happy to share with all of our viewers. So, Gordon, what has been one of your most difficult challenges, and how did you persevere?
In the business, not just in the business, in life, you have to reinvent. You have to sometimes keep proving your worth, or it feels that way. Sometimes, you're pigeonholed or you're known for one thing and you want to do other things, and you have to make a way for yourself. Sometimes you have to humble. Sometimes you have to ask for help. I think in the entertainment business, one of the hard things in the business is pretending to be happy all the time. That phone rings. Oh, hi. Because it's like, how are you?
Yeah, right.
It can be bubbly and likable.
Yeah. Like that can be a challenge because sometimes you're a human being human,
Mhm.
and so sometimes there can be that. Sometimes it's really knowing who your real friends are.
Mhm.
You know, jealousy, envy, quote unquote.
All of it.
Sometimes even when you've achieved things and you have the toys or the accoutrement to whatever you want to call it, not always feeling like you can really enjoy it.
Right.
Sometimes you feel like there might be people who are surrounding themselves with you just for that, just for access to that, as opposed to really caring about you and constantly feeling sometimes on guard around stuff like that. So it's a lot, there are many layers and emotions around just living in general, but then sort of living in the
Gordon.
Yes, sir.
Did I make you feel at ease that one time? I think we were leaving your house and we got in the car and I played Millie Jackson and started singing for you. Did you feel at ease at that moment?
I thought you were just an absolute fool.
Oh, thank you. You know what? I was gonna say my eyes got wide because I said him singing Millie Jackson. Okay, Gordon, come on, tell the truth.
I was at a party when I met Christian and thought Christian was just fun and bubbly and young and just full of joy, and met him through some other friends. And then I don't know how Millie Jackson came on, but somehow I came on the radio or something. And the next thing I know, Kristen starts singing, lip syncing or singing word for word Millie Jackson's All the Way Lover. I'm like, I was impressed that he was like this young soul who would even know that song, but he knew it live for life. I'm like, this boy is a young genius and a fool at the same time, but full of joy and fun. I just thought it was fun. And it's so important to have to laugh in life, to have a good time, to work hard and play hard. I loved it.
Yeah.
Gordon, my last question for you. You worked with some of our greatest treasurers, national treasures, in my opinion, including some of the people that you've indicated tonight: Whitney Houston, Anita Baker, Aretha Franklin, Ledisi, Shaka Khan, Stephanie Mills, and the list goes on and on and on. Who were you most intimidated by in the studio? Who was the best Kiki, and who delivered on their first take?
Gladys delivered on that first take. I mean, I remember being in the studio.
I can't even clap. Okay, thank you for that. That's a check. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you for that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when I remember being in the studio at 23, I think I was, and when we were recording vocals for Missing You, and we, Tamia and Gladys recorded that day. Tamia recorded, she was at the studio that day. And when I tell you that Mother Gladys came in, first of all, she knew all the words. She did not need a lyric. She just said, "Oh, I can't sing to no lyric sheets, baby. I got to know a song to deliver a song." She said, "I have to know it. I got to feel it, and I got to connect to it." And she said, we used to record albums in a day at Motown. She said the whole album we would record in one day.
Come on.
And she said, "I don't sing to lyric sheets. I've memorized the song." And when I tell you that she came in on that verse, there were so many things. I thought I was going to faint. And I had never heard my lyrics come back to me with that much emotion, that much power, and growing up as a child, my mother says as a toddler, Gladys was my favorite, even as a baby, I was trying to spin Gladys Knight records and breaking my father's needles. So the fact that I was overwhelmed, but she knocked it out in one take.
Right.
Okay.
As you said, who was a Kiki? Whitney was fun. She liked to laugh and joke, and every time we went to the studio, she'd want to have a full 2-hour conversation. 2 hours. Before, okay, what are we doing? And she might sing a little bit that day, and then, okay, I'm tired, y'all. Let's do it tomorrow. We were like, what are you tired for?
Right, you haven't done anything.
You just got here, right?
Listen, budget was not a thing. Money was not a thing. She had an endless budget, and she was she just enjoyed people. I mean, Whitney was a people person. She loved people, and she really wanted to know who you are. She was like, who are you? And talk to me. And it was very much, she didn't really talk about herself, you know.
Okay.
But she liked to talk about music and talk about life and talk about family and just talk. I mean, so she was the key. She was hilarious and fun and
Kiki.
just a friend, just really a friend. It was more like a friend to friend relationship. The most intimidating diva, absolutely Aretha Franklin. And I was at her house. You know, we recorded at her house. So, you know, she set up a recording studio at her house to do So Damn Happy. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to Aretha Franklin's house. Like, oh my God.
That's crazy.
And just, you know, and Aretha, I remember being intimidated by, first of all, Aretha had a presence. She had a persona about herself. There was a formidable carriage. Almost like going to the principal's office. That's what it felt like.
Right.
You know, like you're in the presence. There's really something regal around her. But warm, really warm. Like she always insisted that you call her Aretha. You know, it used to be like Miss Frank. Oh, you know, she would make you call her. No, she. I know somebody's going to ask that. I did have fantasies of coming to Aretha to record and like, oh, we're going to sit there and get my greens and my mac and cheese. She did not cook for us that day, but she had amazing food there, and we recorded for 3 or 4 days, and each day she had a theme. So like one day it was like Detroit greatest hits, so it's like Frank and beans and coleslaw, and then another day was because Detroit has all this Greek food tradition. So another day it was like tabbouleh and hummus and I mean it was really good because she went to like the best restaurants in town.
Of
then
course,
the third day was like Cajun day, so it was like, you know, like New Orleans, like gumbo.
Shrimp
like
boil.
she had themes.
The real food.
It was, and then you know, and then Aretha would invite me to her birthday party. I went to her birthday party, you know, many years. And at her birthday parties, also it was not get down greens, no. She had like fancy, you know, nice salads, like with there's a cheese that starts with ROCQ. That
Roquefort.
cheese,
Roquefort,
Roquefort. That cheese, and you know, she loved lamb chops. I mean, she had, you know, she liked to fine dining. And I remember going to, she liked to dine. You know, and she loved New York. So she loved to come to New York and go to Broadway. And I remember going to her house another day going to her hotel for a meeting. She called me to meet with her, and she was staying at the Plaza. She's grand. And, you know, when I went in, then there was like a long seafood, you know, those seafood towers.
Seafood tower, yeah.
She had a seafood tower, and then she had like crab cakes and, you know, and like, you know, and then she had that tower. And then she also had another tower of like high tea sandwiches, like the watercress sandwiches. And I mean, like Aretha was really living kind of like a queen, and she treated you like a king.
Right.
She also treated you, if she respected your talent and she requested your talent, she treated you well. You know, I remember going to concerts and she would, you know, she would say, and in the house tonight, we have a songwriter who's worked, and, you know, made me stand up in front, you know, in front of 6,000 people at a sold out show at Radio City, and said my name and said, you know, and made the audience recognize me. And in the backstage afterwards, she introduced her to my mother. She grabbed my mother's hand. She said, your son is really, really writing. I remember the way she said, really, really, but warm. Like Aretha was like, there's something about the South, that Southern energy that's like very formal, you know, like those older dignity, like Mrs. Such and Such from church, you know, that's, you give them high honor, but also, but also very warm at the same time. That was the essence of her. So I was very intimidated, but she really became a friend, somebody
That's wonderful,
really warm, you know. And I mean, both of those ladies, Whitney and Aretha. I mean, I grew up idolizing them, and who would have thought that they would have passed? And and when they passed, I remember when those phone calls came in from their offices, you know, that you've been, you know, to be invited to the homegoings, and you know, I went and paid my, you know, homage. And I remember being at both homegoings, and like, it was just one of those moments like, why am I here? You know, just like thinking about growing up.
Humble.
Thinking about growing up and dreaming, you know, about being in music and then finally getting to work with, these ladies who crossed over
the highest level.
way before we thought they would, but then, being honored enough to be requested by their families to be there and just like, look at what God can do if you dream and you do the work. Look at what God can do.
Amen. Amen. Okay.
Well, Bobby Edwards has asked, beyond your own gift, is there a current recording artist who moves you, either their voice or their writing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who, I am really a major Jasmine Sullivan fan. I remember doing shows with her when she was like 12 years old, and that woman, she's growing. She can sing about the hotels and tell you all about the girls next door and really tell you their life story and put it into a beautiful song. Almost like, if you listen to that album, it's almost like Entasaki Shange's, choreo poem. It's like she's telling the story of these women who the world would look down on, but she's like, everyone is a human being, and she's telling it's art, and then to see her get on the national anthem and then sing that national anthem, and with a country and western singer,
and blow it away,
and blew it away, but then also blew it away, but in a way like knowing how to be herself, but then sing with him at the same time. I was like, wow, I'm impressed with her. Her is growing in her craft. I've seen her perform live, and just get from one instrument to the next instrument, and just classy, talented, growing. Jennifer Hudson continues to just be ready for whatever. She's always ready. When the world says, okay, Jennifer, we need you to do it. We need you to sing for Whitney, 2 days after she passed. She was ready, when Aretha says, I want you to play me, whatever they put in her, she's ready, and she always makes us proud.
Always ready.
Fantasia, I love, sings from
Fantasia. Oh,
Fantasia to me is like our Aretha, just always can be. I love Cynthia Erivo. I love her. Never seen her in concert, but I've seen her on stage, and has given me chills, the precision and the timbre of her voice. But I saw Lisa Fisher in concert last week.
I saw that on your Instagram.
I love Lisa Fisher, and I had to give up tickets right before COVID, and I see that she's now in concert again. So I cannot wait. Lisa Fisher is of my top 4 female singers.
She's like she's like singer's favorite singer.
Yes, like it's like water. It's like a master class, and it's like she's like a genie.
Yeah,
it's like magic. It's like black magic. I don't even know how to explain it. It's otherworldly. So there's tons of talent out there that I love supporting.
We'll talk to Lisa Fisher about us, because I'd love to have her on the show. I would just love, really, truly. I'm with you. Between Lisa Fisher and Tuck and Patty, we got some good music vibes going on. Okay. You know that. So, Gordon, I have a question for you. Like, of your songs that you've written, which one do you find yourself singing the most? To yourself, or?
I sing. When I go to open mics, I generally sing "If You Love Me." It's always a crowd pleaser.
Yes.
At when I if I pop into an open mic, I'll sing it like I popped into Nick and Val's Sugar Bar last night. I say that one tends to be the one that I sing the most, because it's an immediate crowd pleaser at an open mic. So I would probably say that one. But I have songs on my solo albums that are more personal to me, that are more my own storyline, I guess, more my own narrative. So I probably would sing those to myself, so to speak, but probably publicly it would be probably "If You Love Me," especially after Tory Lanez did it and sampled it as did the hip hop version. Say it became even more of a crowd pleaser. It sort of came back,
Right on.
But I always enjoy. I love to sing "If You Love Me" because it's it's the first song I ever heard that I on the radio. So
I love it.
Where were you when you heard it?
In the car. Actually, I wrote it in the car, and I was in the car when I heard it. Actually.
Yes. Very sweet. So you got a lot of guidance and support as a child from Dick Griffin, from Rufus Reed, and from Lenny White. When you're not performing, how do you spread your love and talents in music?
Very much doing exactly what Lenny and Dick Griffin and Rufus Reed did for me. I mean, I mentor a lot of people. I do a lot of vocal coaching for all ages and all skill levels. I have people who sing just as a hobby to express themselves, and professional recording artists, as well as children, all ages. So I love to guide and mentor and coach and teach.
Mm-hmm.
So I that same energy, that all that confidence and self-esteem that got built up in me as a youth, I give it back to the community in that through that service. Yeah.
Right on. Now you even wrote a song entitled "Slow Motion" for Karina Passion.
Yes.
Back in 2008.
Yeah.
Which I took a listen to. That's really a beautiful song. You're such a beautiful songwriter.
Thank you.
You touch our souls when you write a song. It's just really amazing.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to young aspiring songwriters and singers?
To talk about Karina, I mean, Karina was a project. There's an A&R person who worked for L.A. Reid, who was one time worked for Hicko when I was signed there as a songwriter, and Shakir Stewart, who passed away in I don't know if it was 2008 or 2009. He took his own life, actually. He signed Karina and asked me to work on that project, and she was nominated for a Grammy, and the album didn't sell as much as we hoped that it would, but Slow Motion, which was not even the single on the album, has become this runaway singer song. I mean, it has been covered on YouTube thousands of times. Wow. It's been sang on American Idol contestant shows like all around the world. It's been, we just got a request that somebody wanted to put it in a play. It's just become this song that seems to be like a song that represents young, innocent love. I would say so thank you for mentioning her. I was very proud of being a mentor to her, especially at that young age. And just sort of poured all that I knew into her. And as a way to honor Shakir, who's passed on, obviously. So I would say to the young artists, to be themselves, to trust themselves to be themselves. Authenticity is the most powerful part of anybody's artistry, and I loved the singers, when I was growing up, like when my parents would play records, they could put on Dion, and Dion sounded nothing like Marilyn McCool, who sounded nothing like Diana Ross, who sounded nothing like Thelma Houston, who sounded nothing like Cissy Houston.
Right.
Or if it was reggae, then Toots and the Maytals sounded nothing like Bob Marley, who sounded nothing like Peter Tosh. The voices were so unique. These days, you turn on the radio and you can't quite say that the singers sound so distinct from each other. So I try to encourage artists, and not just music, but all artists to trust themselves, to be themselves. Let us hear who you are and trust it.
Nice. I love that.
What's next for you?
I wonder. I'm trying to figure that out. The pandemic was a time of a slowdown, of reflection, and I'm open. I'm going to write a book. I know that I need to do that. I'm going to work on another recording, my 5th solo album. I know those projects are coming down the pike, but I'm also open. I would love to probably be a professor somewhere. That would be a great use of my skills and my interests at this, time. And when the right fit and the right opportunity comes along, I'm open. I just stay open. But really, it's however I can be of service, and inspire. I'm open to it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I know Alvin and Saladin have been so wanting to have you on the show. They're containing it so well, but it's just such a joy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. You guys have been fun.
Well, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going anywhere just yet. Gordon is going to get ready. He's going to sing a song for us. But before we do that, a lot of you have been following us and have been wondering, where has our Black Excellence feature been? So while Gordon goes away for a minute to get himself ready for his performance, we're going to have another segment of Black Excellence, and our co-host Saladin, he's about to put it down for you guys. So Saladin, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Alvin. On the evening of December 24th, 1989, NBC presented its Bill Cosby Salutes Alvin Ailey. Mr. Ailey died on December 1st, 1989, but this particular production was not made as a posthumous tribute. It was actually taped more than a year before its premiere to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. December 24th, 1989 was a fateful day for me, as it was the first time I had ever seen or heard about the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I was desperately captivated by the intrepid athleticism, beauty, and glamour of the dancers. I had never witnessed such a magical thing in my life. For tonight's Black Excellence, we pay tribute to one of the women who graced the stage on that fateful night, and who years later will have a palpable impact on my growth as a dancer and an artist. Tonight, we celebrate Deborah Chase Hicks, former star of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. As Teresa Ruth Howard wrote in a recent Dance magazine article, Chase Hicks was a game changer, an inspiration, an example for generations of dancers. Her sweet blend of technical prowess, artistry, integrity, grace, and humility in classic roles in Tally Beatty's The Stack Up, Ulysses Dove's Episodes, George Faison's Sweet Otis, and Alvin Ailey's For Bird with Love, as well as the iconic solo Cry, garnered her the respect of her peers. Deborah Chase Hicks, or as I lovingly called her, Debbie Chase, was born on December 23rd, 1957, in Aschaffenburg, Germany. Her love for dance began as a young child while living in Denver, Colorado. Her family would eventually settle in Philadelphia in the 1960s. At age 10, she began attending the Philadelphia School of Dance Arts, the parent school of Philadelphia. Debbie Chase was invited to join Philadelphia in 1974. She performed as a soloist with Philadelphia until 1981. In 1981, Mr. Ailey invited Debbie Chase to join the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Mr. Ailey once said, "Philadelphia, that young and dynamic company which has made such an explosive impact on the entire dance scene. Former Philadelphia members enrich our repertoire with their versatility, technical fire, and unparalleled commitment to the art of dance," end quote. In fact, Debbie Chase was one of the final dancers handpicked by Mr. Ailey himself. Debbie Chase remained at Ailey for 11 years, where she and a cohort of awe-inspiring dancers elevated the standard of American modern dance. As Howard also noted, it was this generation that set the model that has become the brand of excellence associated with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. She was also the recipient of many awards, the International Congress of Black Women Award, the Outstanding Young Americans Award, and Dance Magazine's Dancers to Watch. After retiring from Ailey, she returned to where it all began, Philadelphia, where she served as rehearsal director until her recent passing on May 6, 2021. I was invited to join Philadelphia in August of 2000. Debbie Chase was the most nurturing and supportive rehearsal director I've ever worked with. She was also an adroit coach who provided feedback in a safe space designed to elevate and enhance. She was completely vested in our success and growth as young artists. I don't think I would have ever been invited to join the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater if it were not for my time at Philadelphia with Debbie Chase and Joan Myers Brown. Working with Debbie Chase was a great honor and a privilege. She was also a highly sought after master teacher. She was on the staff of New Freedom Theater and the Philadelphia School of Dance Arts. She was also instrumental in resetting Mr. Ailey's Witness for the Royal Danish Ballet and the reconstruction of Ulysses Dove's Bad Blood on Philadelphia. Debbie Chase had a few mantras which I continue to live by. And in closing, I'd like to share with you. She'd say, "Change your costume, change your head." She'd also say, "You have nothing to prove and everything to share." That's Deborah Chase Hicks, Black Excellence.
Thank you, Saladin. I want to run to New York and bring you a tissue. I really do, because I know viewers. He mentioned Saladin is a dancer, also
former
dancer, former dancer. He can still cut a step, but he is a former dancer. That was beautiful, a beautiful tribute. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Gorgeous. And
wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's here, and he's here on He Said, and he is going to perform for us tonight. And I don't even know what he's performing, ladies and gentlemen. So it is a mystery to me and a gift to me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the He Said stage, Mr. Gordon Chambers.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm at my piano, which you guys can't see, but I'm at the piano. The song that's on my heart right now is a song about perseverance, something we talked about in the interview. It's also the song on my newest CD, Surrender, my most latest album, solo album. Please get all my albums, by the way.
Yes.
Get them. Good music for adults, grown folks, seasoned people.
Yes.
Yes.
But this is a song called My Way, and this song was on the CD, was dedicated to Whitney. And I'm just going to sing this right now, since we did talk about her tonight, and since I'm going to be on the documentary next week. So this song came to my mind, and it's a song about, well, you'll see what it's about. I think if you're grown and you're seasoned, you've been through this and you can relate. Took some time to learn. I got a few fingers burned, but I fought for what I knew, did what I had to do, for what I believe was true. And I made a few mistakes. I've learned a few hard lessons. My heart had to break. Every day there were blessings. Somehow I'm still here. Grounded, I can say that I made it through the tears, and I did it on my way. Took some time to learn, and I even took a fall. But when life gets upside down and there's nobody else around, you turn to higher ground. See, I have made a few mistakes. I've learned a few hard lessons. My heart had to break, but every day there were God's blessings. Somehow I'm still here. Proud, and I can say that I made it through my fear, and I did it all alone. Whether right or wrong, whether weak or strong, the truth is in my soul. 'Cause see, I have made a few mistakes. I've learned a few hard lessons. Sometimes your heart is gonna break, but every day there were blessings. Somehow I'm still here. Proud that I can say that I made it through the tears, and I did it on my way. I did it on my way. I did
Come on,
Bravo.
you all. Give it up
Bravo.
for Mr. Gordon Chambers.
Ancora.
Gordon. Oh,
Beautiful.
Okay. Look,
Thank you.
I'm Gordon. First of all, thank you so much for blessing me. And you spoke tonight about perseverance. And I know when I saw you doing what I do in 2005, I said, one day I'm going to work with him. One day I'm going to talk with him. One day I'm going to have him on a show. And the only other person that spoke to my existence was Lettucey. And I did that in 2000 and brought her to DC. So I am just going to say, I am so honored tonight to have you on He Said, He Said, He Said. Thank you for blessing our show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you saw it right here tonight on He Said, He Said, He Said. Mr. Gordon Chambers came here and did his thing. And Saladin, Vosh, and I'm speaking for them. We are so happy that you are here. So before we go, I'm going to give you all our words of the week. Music expresses that of which cannot be said, on which it is impossible to be silent. And that is an unknown. We will post that with a thank you to all of you for watching tonight. And again, for blessing us with another great show. We couldn't have done it without all of you. And so I'm going to end tonight by saying, everyone have a great weekend. And thank you for joining us again on He Said.
He said.
He said.
And we'll see you guys very soon. Take care. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
Thank you, Gordon.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Gordon.
Blessings.